Welcome back to Canvas Apron and part 3 of our Indiana Jones and the Great Circle recipe. Cook through, I think. Like a walkthrough, but a cook through. What, cooking? Cook through. Anyways, third and final recipe of Italy. Next up is Egypt. But our last recipe is risotto ai funghi. And so it's a risotto with the mushrooms. Unfortunately, could not get the 2 kinds of mushrooms it calls for, so we had to do some replacements. But let's walk through this. First, you pick some fresh chanterelles in the forest. Couldn't find that here. Clean and slice. Heat a pot of vegetable broth and infuse with dried porcini. Couldn't find those. Melt some butter in a wide pan and saute chopped onion. Add rice to the pan and stir. Once it has changed color, pour in the dash of white wine and let it evaporate. Now, ladle the pan with broth a little at a time. Stir continuously, period. In a separate pan, saute chopped garlic and shallots until fragrant, then add the chanterelle and stir until they've released all moisture. Once the risotto is creamy, mix in grated parmesan, salt and pepper to taste, serve in a bowl with sautéed chanterelles, and sprinkle fresh parsley on top. So, let's get to it. So, for the chanterelles, I substituted portobello mushrooms. So we're just going to slice these. And I'm kind of just hoping that these worked out, because there wasn't really alternatives for what I was looking for. Anything close. We got like baby bella, maybe crimini mushrooms around here. It's just not something you find around here, especially, you know, in the middle of January. So we're gonna be using what we got. Use 2 portobello mushrooms in place of the, what is it, like 250 grams of chanterelles. Okay, we're gonna just keep chopping our mushrooms here, and then we're going to start preparing some of the other I have no idea what size to be cutting these mushrooms, to be honest, so I'm just kind of guessing here. We're going to be sautéing these, so like, you know, I don't know. I wish I would piss off like a chef, you know, and then he would just come for me in the comments and just correct everything. Then be like I'm getting free school. That's probably fine, I think. Then we're gonna do our onion, and we're just gonna chop the onion. Doesn't say exactly how best to chop it, so we're just winging it, which I feel like is going to be kind of the theme for a lot of these recipes. Okay, and let's throw some vegetable broth down in the oven, or in a pot. Calls for 2 to 2.5 liters of vegetable broth, so quite a bit.
Porter would be good.
I've had portobello before.
Have you?
Yeah.
I don't think I've had.
Here's like a more tender mushroom.
What about the other ones?
I've never had oyster before.
You can go ahead.
I don't. That's so expensive.
Just try a little tiny bit of it.
Well, I don't get the price. Right, our vegetable broth is looking pretty warm, so we're going to drop down our oyster mushrooms in place of porcinis. And I'm hoping it brings a similar desired effect. So we're just going to... And they're also not dried, so I'm just kind of really messing with the whole recipe here. And then we're dropping down butter for two things. First up, the butter in the back is going to be used for, it's going to be some rosemary butter for the bread. And then the recipe says use a lot of butter to saute the onions. So here's a whole stick. I got a chicken and I took the butter out about halfway through. I decided that was a little too much butter. And then this butter we're pouring out because we just needed to soften it up a little bit. We're going to use that for the bread here in a little bit. But right now we're going to start sauteing the onions. And then once the onions are done sauteing, we'll add the rice.
Those look funky.
In the meantime, we're gonna slice this bread open. Alright, we're doing a lot of rosemary on here. And then, fuck this again. Anyways, our friend made this honey garlic for us. So I'm gonna give a couple of bits in there. And we're just gonna... Ooh, that butter wasn't quite ready, but we'll get it figured out. Okay, now we're gonna just put this butter on the bread. And then we're gonna wrap it up and throw it in the oven. Oh, I am making such a mess. Okay. Well, this is not turning out how I envisioned. But that's okay. We'll just throw this guy down. And then looking up over here, it looks like our onions are ready for the next step. We're adding the rice to the pan. And then we're going to stir until it has changed colors. Oops. And then we add in the dash of white wine. We're going to let it evaporate. Actually, I'm going to let it stir. Okay. In the meantime, while the wine evaporates, we're going to go ahead and chop up our shallot. This will get sauteed with the garlic here very shortly. And it just says to ladle the broth a little at a time and stir continuously. Doesn't say if we're supposed to use all of it, but I would assume so. Now we could have some, might be a little, we'll figure it out. We'll find out what happens. At this point, I don't think we need to keep stirring. I'm gonna put them in there. We've got our garlic down already, sauteing. We're using an old pot. And there goes our shallots. Mopping up the wrath a little bit over here on the cutting board. Throw those down. Those are going to saute for just a little bit, and then we're going to add in all of the portobello mushrooms and saute those for a little while. We're nearing the end here, and we're adding our last of the mushrooms. Those are just going to saute for a second. Alright, our bread's done. So we're going to see if it turned out how I imagined. It's pretty good. Rosemary, honey, garlic. Can't really go wrong with it. Well, I think we're about out of time on waiting for this risotto. And following this video, I'm going to have to go turn on Indiana Jones again and check the recipe. Because I think something's a little off here. Well, actually, maybe not that off. I mean, that's not bad, but I think I could have gone with like half a liter less of liquid. So we're going to try and get some of this off so we can mix in our parmesan. And we're just going to throw it in
here. You know that back burner is still on, right?
I found out once I started putting the soup on. And don't worry, like I said, nothing gets wasted in this kitchen, so all of this excess broth is going to get used in one of our soups tomorrow. I think, my God, that is, oh yeah, we still got a lot of liquid. Let's try to get a little bit more.
I would leave maybe that in there because I don't think the rice is done.
You don't think so?
I don't know. You know what? Pepe, do what you feel like you need to do.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, never mind.
Done?
And it could use like a little bit, like a tiny bit longer, but not long enough that it's gonna soak up all of that extra stuff. But maybe when you put the cheese in, it'll like do that too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now that this looks creamy, we're gonna add in all of the Parmesan. We're gonna mix that in carefully. Oh man, it smells so good.
That looks like the right consistency.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everything's done, so we're gonna plate this up now. First up, our bed. Followed by our mushrooms and shallots. Then over the top, some pepper, sea salt, and parsley. And voila, there's our last Italian dish. And now, the taste test. Trying to get a little bit of everything in this. Here we go. This is really good. That Parmesan complements the mushrooms so well, like the texture of the mushrooms. And the cheesy rice, I mean, you can't really go wrong with cheesy rice. I think, all in all, this is a really great texture, and it's going to go on the Italian bread so easily. And this is great. This is a great way to end the Italian portion of our Indiana Jones recipes. So, next time, I'll see you in Egypt.